Welcome to Hanging Out with Robert, that's me. This video contains things that I encounter throughout the day. If for some reason I complete a task and you would like to see the details, you can click on the link in the description area below. This video also contains tips and tricks that I learned throughout the years. I plan on leaving this video accessible for about 30 days. After that, you can view it through my Patreon account. Thank you very much for watching. Kicking off the Tinker Day. Hooked up the jump box. Boom, fire it right up. Gonna move this car out of the way. Start doing an assessment to get this thing cracking. In this video, we're going to be replacing the rear hatch support lifts from this P2 Volvo V70. I believe this is a T5M. At any rate, they're all the same. These trunk lifts get worn out over age. They don't assist in lifting the hatch. It don't hold the hatch up. You have to do stuff like that. It's hitting you in the head. Just best to replace them with new lifts if you can afford it. If not, go to the salvage yard, find some used ones that are holding the trunk up there. Now, I will let you know this. When it's warm out, let's say over 65, 70 degrees, it's easier for these lifts to work than when it's cold. So if you want to test to see if the lifts are any good, you want to test them when it's as cold as possible. So first thing in the morning, it's cooler, check them then, or just see how well they hold the rear hatch up. If you can open the rear hatch and gently push down, bump it, and it closes, those hatch lifts are no good. Anyway, let's get started. Open up the rear hatch, get it supported open with something so that you can work in the vehicle. Next, you want to remove this center panel here. First thing you want to do is pop this light down. There's a hidden screw behind this light. After you get that screw removed, which is a T25, you can pull this panel down. It's just mainly held up by retaining push pins. Normally slip a small screwdriver in the end of that and pop that light down. Once your light is down, you remove that screw. Looks like somebody's already busted this one. I normally unplug the light right now, get it out of the way. Next, you want to pull this center trim piece down. It's held up by push tab. Next, I'm going to clear everything out of here so that I could get these panels here removed. That way I could get this panel here removed and not worry about breaking or cracking it. So move all this stuff forward or get it out of the vehicle, out of your way. Pull these up both sides and just lift them up out of the way. Real nice and easy. Next, I'm going to pull the screws out of there. That's a T25. Remove those on both sides. Next, you want to pull these in on both sides to allow you to get these out. Just put your hand under here, pull those loose. They have little push pins so that that's loose away from the window of the car, giving you room to get this out. If you want more room to get those out, you can pull those 10mm bolts out, and that'll give you more room, but this is normally enough. Next, you want to pull this piece of trim down and out of the way. Very easy. Comes out, get it out of the way. Next, I get this side panel out, which is kind of tough. So a lot of times I'll pick this speaker grill up from the bottom, pull those out of the way. Now you have to use your hand to pull in here, pull down here, get this loose from the top, work your way down to get this loose. It's really in here tight, but they pull straight towards you to the inside. And sometimes these things crack because they're brittle, but it will come in and lift up over that piece there. So this piece will unlatch from the wall, pivot it up, get it over this hook trim, and remove it. I'm probably in danger here. I hadn't even pulled on this one yet, and I see it's already cracked. So somebody has already cracked this one, maybe pulling it in the past. It may break. I'm going to try to avoid that. So I have one hand in here where the speaker hole is, I put my other hand down there where that panel was removed, and you got to jerk this thing in to get it to pop loose, and then you work it from under here and then lift it up to get it from over there, and you have it in. So I was able to get this out without breaking that, but that thing is cracked pretty bad. So you probably want to get some epoxy and puzzle this thing back together and put some epoxy on the inside of that so that it supports it for the next time that it's installed, and hopefully it won't break. Now that you have your lifts exposed, they have a little clip on them. If you see there's a little clip on the end of that. You have to push that clip out. You could do it with your finger or with a little screwdriver or something. But you want to push this out off of the lift. Let me try to do that with two hands. I actually started pushing it with my fingernail. I got it to raise up a little bit, and I put a little screwdriver on the back side of it to get it the rest of the way up, so that little pin is off of the lift like that. So you do that there and back here. See that pin there? Push that off of the lift. Then you pull that out. Get a needle nose pliers or work it out with your finger or whatever. This is like a securing pin in there. Needle nose pliers will normally pull it out, or you can pull it out like that. Get those out front and back. Once you get those pins out, there's a couple of options you have here, but I'm going to show you the easy way to do it. You can lift up on the lift and take a little pry bar or screwdriver or something and just simply push that off. Then that side will drop down. Then you pry this side off, and then you take the replacement, you push this side on, you raise it up, you push that side in while you're holding the lift up. You can do it all with one hand. Now, if for some reason you can't get the lift high enough up to get this other ball piece to pop in place, you'll see there's two screws right there on that bracket. You take those two screws loose, and that ball socket will move around. Hook it back up, tighten those back up. So we're going to try to do it without that. I lift up on the back of the hatch, and I just pry that out with one hand. Grab this, pry it off with the other hand, pop the other one in place. I lift up on the hatch. I pry that front side out with a screwdriver or pry bar. It's hanging down like that. Now that it's hanging down, I just take it and pull it right off like that. I push the other one in place. Once I get it in place, I lift that side up, push it in place, then the weight of the trunk will hold it in while I put in those two safety pins. If your lifts are weak, once you get one good side in, that good side with the weak side, it'll be strong enough to hold it up. As you can see, it's in place. Now I'm going to slide those pins in there as a safety precaution to keep this in place. Then I'm going to get the other side out. These pins should not be bent, so if they're bent, go ahead and straighten them out. To get that top safety pin in, I had to actually lift up on the rear hatch to take pressure off of that ball just to get that pin in. So one side done, one side to go. Use a pair of pliers. Make sure that is all the way seated on. I use these adjustable jaw pliers. Once you make sure that's all the way in, the pin slides in pretty easy. Now that your lift supports are in, you want to put this corner piece back in. You tuck it behind that ring there and then push it in place so that everything locks in. Again, if you got a panel that's cracked, you may want to put some epoxy on the back side of it. This one is cracked here, so I could pull this foam off, support the back of this with some epoxy. After you got this side piece locked in, put the top piece up there, install the top piece over here, install your rear panels there, and install the grills that you took off of those corner panels. And then you're done. About to split some wood, folks. Would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? This is spectacular. I have seen at least 4 whale crest the water in this ocean spot. At least 4. They're out there a little bit, so it's hard to catch on the phone, but I got a set of binoculars, and man, they've come way up out of the water and gone back down in there. Let's sit here for a minute or two, see if I can see one, and then I'll point it out to you on the video. It's like they come up every 7 or 8 minutes. There was one that was pretty close, right about here in between these trees, but most of them were out there a little further away. Let me see if I could see one that I could point out to you guys on my phone. Spectacular. Really huge. You could see them break the water, blow their air out, and then you could see their hump curve back down into the water. You can see them really good in the binoculars. They are migrating south, from what I understand. Oh, there's one way out there. Gosh, that was so far out there. I don't know if I could even point that out. It was almost at the horizon of the ocean. Let's see if we get any more coming closer. Come on, whales. Come up here so they can see you. There's one. Man, that thing is way out there. See if I could catch one more for you guys. Ah, there's one over there, right on the edge of the tree line. Looks like it's on top of the water. Is it going to dive? Oh, that's a little boat. I thought that was a whale. Must be somebody whale watching. I'll let it run another minute. It looks like one way... Ah, here's one right there. And it's back down. There it is, spouting up again by the boat. The tail's up out of the water. Wow, that's amazing. I'm looking for a little Red Riding Hood. Ain't she supposed to be out in this redwood forest somewhere? Most of my playtime is over for now. And time for me to get some work done. I got the battery for that platinum wagon on the charger. It's at 79%. It started at 25% probably 5 hours ago. So that thing is slowly charging. Hopefully it'll be okay. Next thing I got going on with this P2 is the door latch is bad. You could be driving along, hit a bump, and get a notice on the message center that the door is open. So this latch in here has a micro switch or something going bad, and I'm going to replace it. So the first thing I need to do is take the door panel off. There's a link in the description area below telling you how to properly get the door panel off without breaking anything. And then once I get the door panel off, I'll get this latch out of here and show you guys how that happens. I thought we were dealing with a front door latch. I have a rear door latch. So let me confirm with the owner that this is a rear door latch problem and not a front door latch problem. I received a confirmation that it is the rear door. I didn't notice this, but this rear door has some kind of, maybe looks like a dent on it. Anyway, let's get this panel off, get this latch out. To my surprise, this door card is loose. So I'm probably going to get some contact glue and glue that back together. I thought that was just a P80 problem. Pop that out, undid that. Now we should be able to pull this insulation down and get at this latch. I'm going to try to undo this first. You got to push that thing off of there. Let me get a screwdriver and push that off. I pushed that yellow thing back off of the rod and then pulled the rod toward the skin of the door and lift it out of the way. Next, I'm going to pull some more of this out of here. Unplug this here. Man, it looks like that thing is got some tape on the tab or something. Ah, it unplugged easier than I thought. This is going to be in the way, the lower window track. So I'm going to pull that screw out. And then I'm going to pull these, looks like T30s out of here. There's 3 of them. 2 up top, 1 down below. And this door latch should maneuver out of here. Now, some kind of way, it's hooked onto the handle. And we'll have to deal with that. You see the rod in that blue clip? That needs to come out of there. That's to the outside handle. So you got to pop that out of there somehow. And then the latch will fall down. Try to make a note how far down it is, how many threads. Because there's probably an adjustment to make sure the handle unlatches it properly. I actually had to reach in there with a screwdriver and push that tab open and pop this out of there with this still screwed in. So before you pull these screws off, release this outside handle catch because you need this latch to be screwed into the door to get that loose. Next, I just pulled the latch down from behind this window track there, dropped it down and got it out. So now I'm going to put the other one in in reverse order. I'm going to slide it up in there behind that window track piece of plastic and screw that thing in. Then I'm going to pop that arm in this little blue bracket here. I tighten those screws, not enough to strip them, just get them tight. Then I reached in there, plugged that rod into that blue clip on there. Then I closed the latch as if the door was closed. Then I pulled up the yellow thing to unlock it, push that up. Down is locked, up is unlocked. Then I pulled the handle outside to make sure that latch opened up. And it does. The outside handle works. Now I can plug in the electrical plug till you hear it click. Then I could put this rod back in here. So you move that plastic back like that. You guide that rod in that hole. Then you snap that plastic over that rod like that. Now we're ready to put this back up. Press that in place and get ready to put this door panel back on. Plug this in, hook your cable into your door handle pull, snap that in place, and you should be good to go. Make sure this is orientated properly. That little push clip there. Make sure your door handle cable is routed through that plastic clip right there. Next, you're going to put the screw back in this lower window track. Before you put the door panel on, you're going to make sure that lines up. That screw goes in there. Just snug it down. It's plastic. You don't want to strip it, trying to tighten it too tight. Now you can test the door. Putting the door panel in, lock the lock so the door doesn't open. I come in here and hit unlock. Oops. It's not unlocking. Interesting. Maybe I triggered the child lock. I have to open it from the inside. Nope. It's not unlocking. Hope this ain't something that's got to be programmed. Reach up here and unlock this door. Alright, it's unlocked now. And child lock is in the unlocked position. So let's see if I get it to work this time. Opens and closes. I hit lock. It's locked. I hit unlock. Let me go unlock it from the other side. Oh, let me try to unlock it with the key. It appeared to unlock that time. Let me go see if it opens. And we're good to go. So now when I drive it, I'll see if it actually stays locked and closed on my display. The old one didn't pop as an open door all the time, just occasionally. So hopefully this fixed it. That's my first time ever replacing the latch, and it took me 30 minutes. So should be quick and easy. Gotta go replace a starter in this vehicle up here. We tested this starter earlier with my jump box. We clamped the hot on that post right there. We clamped the negative on the bracket or on this part of the starter, and we touched the wire over to that Bendix, and man, that thing just took off. So this is a good starter. We're gonna put it in this car. I think I'm gonna start off by cutting the grass. I take the starter out from the top. Now, you don't want to damage anything in the path of this hood and that starter. So I'm going to remove this intake tube. I'm going to take this vacuum stuff off of the intake manifold and the charge pipe. I'm going to unplug those two sensors from the harness. I'm going to take the charge pipe and remove it from there and there. Get that out of the way. Then I'm going to take the bolts loose from the starter. So let me get started taking this out first. Quick and easy. Now let me take this loose. You do not want to damage this. Don't damage this. So I'm going to take it loose from there. I'm going to take it loose from here. And then I'm going to spin it and lay it off to the side. Normally take those clamps loose with a pair of side cutters. I put them on the front of there, squeeze it in, it pops that up and off. So I use the side cutters to pop those clamps loose. You can also do it with a screwdriver. This just works pretty easy for me. Then I push that off with some pliers or wiggle it off. Just massage it. Important thing is you don't break this brake booster check valve. Take this, lay this out of the way. Do not damage that. Now I'm gonna unplug this, push that tab in, massage it off. I had to do the same for this sensor here. Do not break those clips on those sensors. Bad news for you. I hit that screw with a long screwdriver, and I hit this one with a nice little 1/4-inch ratchet set that Steven has. Let me get that from hanging down here. Nice little ratchet for that. So this tube should be loose. I should be able to massage this tube off of here. Maybe I didn't unscrew that enough, but let me try it again. I have that off and loose. Open up the back of the vehicle and disconnect the ground from the battery. This one right here. So pull off everything you need to access that battery, which is that bracket there and the cover. You don't want power on the vehicle when you're messing with that starter. You want to shorten it out. Next, you want to move this wire harness out of the way so you don't damage it. So put it out of the way. Next, you want to disconnect this 13mm bolt right there on the back of the starter. And then you want to unplug the sensing wire right under that. Unplug that wire. After you unbolt that, you want to unbolt the 14mm holding the starter to the transmission. You got one here and you got one here, and that has a bracket on there, so you may have to take the bracket off first, then get to the bolt. 14s, that back there is 13. Anytime you take starter wires off the back of the starter, count how many wires you actually take off that post. One time I took 3 wires off on a 960, put back 2, thought I had a bad starter because I missed one of the wires that fell out of the way. So make sure you count how many wires is on that and put that many back. This one only has one that splits off the 2 positions. So you see that cable is a dual cable on that thing. So let me get these 14s out. When you're taking these starter bolts out, make sure you don't hit that thing right there. That's your transmission vent. You don't want to break that. And occasionally the starter will have that bolt on the back of it. That's a 12mm. You need to pull that too. But this was the last year they put that bolt in, I think. So I never put that back. After you have the 2 wires off the back, the bracket to the block bolt removed, these 2 14s, you just rock this thing until you get it out, and it'll come right up out of the top. Make sure you don't damage anything, and there you have it, starter. Now you can take this one and test it if you want. We're going to discard it and put the other one in. Just go reverse order. Be careful not to mess anything up. And again, I'm not putting that 12mm bolt back in the block. One thing you want to remember is this starter grounds to the transmission. So if that starter hadn't been on a vehicle for a while, you might want to take the mating surface of it that mates to the transmission and brush it with a wire brush. Get anything off of there that would prevent it from grounding good. Also, on the back side of that starter, I always make sure that the harness for the ETM is not trapped behind that bracket back there, because if it is, if you ever have to do some ETM work, then you gotta take the starter loose just to get that wire harness loose. So free that ETM harness. Tighten these up pretty tight. I'd probably go at least 25 foot-pounds, maybe 30. Then just snug this bracket bolt on there. You don't want that too tight, and then you can't get it off, or it turns out if you ever have to get this off again. Wouldn't be a bad idea to brush that wire with a wire brush. When you tighten that bolt on the back of that 13, don't over tighten it, or you could cause that to be stuck on the back of that starter. Just snug it down and tighten it a little bit. Same for this bracket bolt there. Now we're ready to put the intake tube back in. Now there's a couple options you have. One option is to put it on the way it was on, and that's for that screw to be forward like that. To me, it's kind of hard getting that on like that. A lot of times I'll put this thing on like this and use a long extension to hit this with the 7mm in a long extension or a long screwdriver. You want to keep this on the back side, because on the front side the wire harness will be in the way. Get that tube in place without damaging it. I'll put it on this side first. That way I know it's in position. Then I massage that back side on. Make sure that it's all the way up before you try to tighten that clamp. You do not want to waste your time trying to put that ETM tube on that ETM and not have it on and that thing come loose or whatever. Make sure you don't bust these two sensors as well. So I got it in position. My clamp is there. I'm going to put a long extension back there and screw that in. I actually use needle nose pliers to relock these in. Sometimes I put my hand under them to hold them in place. Let me try the bigger pliers. You could use smaller ones, of course, but these bigger pliers will work too. There you go. Lock back in place. I actually missed the ridge on it, but it did lock, so I'm good to go. Put all these tube catches back where they were, so these things don't move around where they shouldn't be. Again, be very careful not to damage this thing here. Now I can put this air tube back in, hook the battery up, and give this thing a try. See if it cranks. Wasn't cranking before. Not worrying about it started, worrying about it cranking. Just a side note, I noticed that thing is upside down, that little bump stop, and it looks like this vehicle probably has the IPD HD strut mounts. Anyway, let's grab the key. I think everything's out of the way, that this thing can crank fine. I'm gonna prime the fuel system, see if this thing will fire up. I heard it cut on. I don't think the fuel pump cut on. Let me close this door latch so that quits making noise. I think you gotta bump the starter to prime it. Hey, we're cranking. I didn't hear the fuel pump. I think I heard it. Cut it off one more time. Then I'm gonna try to start it. Fires right up, boy. Service light's all we got. Anytime you start one of these vehicles, you always let it run for at least a minute to heat up the pistons so that you don't get lawnmower syndrome. So let this thing run a minute before you shut it off. On that note, that win, I'm going to call it a night. kind of too late to be starting any other job, so I'm going to head back to the room, relax, get ready to take me a nice shower, do some studying, and get ready for tomorrow. I almost missed this awesome sunset. If you feel that this information was useful, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can subscribe to my channel so that you will get notifications of future videos that I post. You can follow me on Twitter, and if you need to contact me directly, please visit my website. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and someone or myself will reply to them. Again, thank you very much for watching.